guys, welcome back to the Fermented World channel. Today we're looking in on the cranberry bochet. Now if you're new to this video or new to my channel, a bochet is a mead where you caramelize the honey first. So you basically cook the honey till it changes colour and it changes the flavour. Makes it really complex, really nice. This has got cranberries in as well. It started off at 1.090, which is a little bit lower than what it normally starts off as. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to be taking a hydrometer reading. I know that it's finished because there's no way that it can't have been finished unless it's stalled. So we've got a couple of bits and bobs here. Right, so first things first, we're going to take the lid off and we're going to see what we've got. Check the gravity, make sure that it's finished. Even though we know it's going to be. This was started on the 15th of this month. It is now the 31st, so it's had plenty of time to sort its stuff out. Oh yeah, we've got loads of cranberries at the top. Bit of condensation there. Now I don't think this is going to be going back into that, but just in case it is, I'm going to put it somewhere where it's going to be okay, where it's got no contact with anything that's going to cause an infection. Right, so first things first, it's still bubbling away. Strangely enough, I don't know why, but let's get a sample of what we've got. It looks nice. It's actually cleared out as well, which again tells me that it's finished, because if it hadn't finished it would not be that clear. It would most definitely be cloudy still if the yeast was still active. Now, bizarrely enough, this is at 22. Now it shouldn't be. And I had this with the last couple of meads that I've done. The papaya mead did it. The one that I did using the ingredients from the last Viking's blood, which is what I called the half Viking, because I literally only put honey in it. That was the only extra ingredients. I reused the yeast, I reused the cherries that were in the ferment, and I reused the... I've got to go get my bearded dragon out of the bath. Yeah, I reused the cherries that were in there dried and secondary as well, and that brought back a lot of the flavour, but it seemed like it didn't want to go, or if it was going, it was going very slowly. I'm going to ponder this for a second or two while I sort the bearded dragon out, and I'll be back in a second. I just thought I'd introduce you to my little friend Loki. He's just got out of the bath. He's had a nice little soak, haven't you, mate? So we were going to have a little taste of this anyway. Are you going to move up or what? Come on, go up onto the shoulder. That's it. Go there, man. Good lad. That's it. Stay there. Why are you sleeping down? Come on. Need to move up. So anyway, we're going to have a little sip of this and see where we're at. Ideally, I would like it to go higher in ABV than what it's going to be, because it's going to be below what I'd normally have, minus the 22 that it's sat at the moment. It almost looks like a brandy. Now, oddly enough, it tastes dry. It doesn't taste much like there's not really a sweetness in there, because the tartness of the berries seem to knock it off balance. Bizarre. Yeah, wasn't ready for that, because it seems to have not, well, maybe not stalled, but it's not continued to ferment, so it possibly means that some of the sugars, when caramelized, are unfermentable. It's had 16 days to get its groove on, so possibly some of that in there is unfermentable. Now it tastes nice, but it's very, very tart, and there's not a lot of sweetness. There is, however, a really nice colour. Normally we'd back sweeten this, which is what I'm going to do, but I'm going to back sweeten it with caramelized honey. I don't know how this is going to go. I've never back sweetened with caramelized honey, but what I'm going to go do now is I'm going to heat up some honey off camera, the same way that I did for this method, and then hopefully somehow we'll be able to add it to this, because unfortunately the tartness hides any caramelized flavors that are in there. So we'll rack it off that while we heat up some honey. I mean, overall it's nice. It's not like it's unpleasant. It is nice, but unfortunately it's just not the level of flavor that is desired. So yeah, I'm going to go heat some honey up, and we'll come back, get this racked off while the honey's heating up. Righty-ho, we are back, and we are ready to add this extra caramelized honey now. I've tasted it. It tastes charred. There's still a nice bit of sweetness in there, but it does have a very, very nice burnt kind of taste to it. Now that doesn't sound too appealing, but believe me, it's nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to rack this off, and then we're going to add this to it, but we're going to be bringing the yeast with it, because I'm going to try and ferment this again, because if this finishes, it's only going to come out at 9.8% or something like that, which is a little bit too low for me. It's not where I wanted it to be. It's not where I'd planned it to be. So we may even end up with more unfermentables in this, which is our lovely, I don't want to tip it too far, our lovely caramelized honey. But let's pop this lid back off, pop this back over here, and we'll rack, see what we've got, and I may even end up putting it into a demijohn if there's not too much of it. If there's too much of it, that's not going to happen, although I could share it between a 2 litre as well. So let's see how much we've got, because we can fit 4.5 litres in one, and possibly some more in another, a smaller 2 litre one. But we are going to be wanting to ferment this, so we do need the extra room really. So we're going to rack this off the cranberries, and we're going to bring the yeast with it. So we're going to churn it up, bring the yeast with it, because we want to ferment some of this, because as I say, it's only going to be about 8%, 9.8% I think it works out as. So I will speed this bit up, and you'll see me mixing in. So if you're following this step by step, trying to do this recipe, and you come across the same thing as me, where you want to add the extra honey that's charred, because there's no point adding honey that's not caramelized if you've got caramelized honey and that's the flavor you're trying to bring out. If you add normal honey, it's just going to taste like normal honey, because most of the charred honey is fermented out, and whatever's left is now unfermentable. Righty dokey skipper. So now in with the darkness, which obviously is going to increase the gravity, because we've just added 400 grams of caramelized honey. Right, so we want to make sure that this is mixed together now. As it was kind of liquid anyway, it seems like it already has. So we're on to a winner. I am going to quickly sterilize these demijohns because I want it to ferment in a demijohn now, instead of the bucket, because in the bucket I can't see what's going on. In the demijohn I can see whether it's got activity or not. So I'm going to go away and sterilize this mini one, and I mean, what have we got there? That's 5 litres there. Probably got about 5.5 litres, so I think we'll be all right with one normal sized demijohn, just like that, and a mini one which I haven't used yet, and I quite like it. Now I think it's an old scrumpy bottle, an old scrumpy cider bottle. That's what I think that is. Doesn't really say anything on it per se, but yeah, we're going to get these cleaned up, and we'll be back. Now I'm tempted to put more yeast in, but I know better. That's not to say that I'm clever, it just means that I don't think it will make much of a difference. If the yeast in there can't restart itself, then that's that, isn't it? So we've mixed that in, and we're going to take another hydrometer reading now. We do have quite a lot of liquid, and I expect we've ramped the gravity back up from 22 to at least 40. So that's a 42 sugar content though, not alcohol. So we've diluted it slightly as to what it was, because we've added more honey. So then we're going to try and ferment this again. So that went up to 42 after the honey, 1.042 with a line to the honey. So this does need to ferment again, but we've got to be really, really careful with splashing it, because we do not want to add any oxygen to it. So I'm going to wait a couple of minutes until those demijohns are sanitized, and we will get them into a fermenter with some rubber bungs on. I'm just going to get some airlocks to use, if I can find enough pieces of airlock. I'm sure I'll be able to find the other bit to that. Just got to be here somewhere, hasn't it? Right, so I've got 2 bungs, 1 complete one and half of one. So I'm going to go find the other bits to this, get them sanitized at the same time, and we're laughing. So I always like you to share in my victories and failures. So that, unfortunately, cannot be auto-siphoned. So what I'd put in there, when I was looking at how much I had left, I'm thinking, there's not going to be enough in this. And there's only a half a amount in that. So I thought, you know, I'll siphon it back out as much as I can. And then I've got a pint bottle, which I've used before. And I was going to use that, but I couldn't even flipping siphon it out of there, so I've had to tip it in, which I really shouldn't have done because that could have added a lot of oxygen, which obviously, as you know, is bad. But such is life. You know, it is what it is. If it ruins it, it ruins it. Just learn from my mistake. So I'm going to fill this up a little bit more, to about where the neck starts to go in, and then I'm going to stop it because we don't want any more in there really. That little bit won't matter, but the rest of it we're going to have to put into the pint glass. So I'm going to grab that, which I did sterilise quickly a second ago. I'm a bit annoyed, to be fair, because I misjudged it. I've misjudged it quite badly, which is annoying. Let's get that little bit in there and then see what we're dealing with. Alright, well, it's not the one I'm looking for, but it'll bloody well do. It's a funnel, and that's what matters. So I'm going to tilt this. It's like, oh, come on. It's not going very well, as you can hear. Flipping heck. That's as much as I dare put in there, because we are going to see if this will carry on fermenting. And this is going to have to go in here. Can't put any more than that in. I just can't do it. Yeah, fact is we're going to lose a bit. Don't want to. I don't want to. But there's just not enough to put in that. Just gonna risk it. To waste the ingredients is just, I'm not a very wasteful person. Let's see what that does. It's got no fruit or anything, so it can't explode. And yeah, we've got a little bit of loss there, but it's not as bad as what it could have been. So airlocks. So yep, right, got 2 airlocks now. On the go. Who knows what's going to happen? I want it to start fermenting again. But whatever will happen, will happen. We'll know within 24 hours whether it's done so. Oh, that was annoying. But again, you know, when you're doing these things and you haven't done it before, you know, these things happen. Clearly, I added too much water to it whilst creating the caramelized honey. And that's just how it goes. We'll get it labelled up as to what the gravity is now. It is 1.042, which is extremely sweet. I will have a tiny taste of it, but not too much because we've got yeast floating around in there and I don't really want a dicky tummy. Might as well pour it all in. There's no point in it being in there now. Let's have a wee taste of what we've got so far, and then if it doesn't continue to ferment, which by rights it should, because the yeast should be reactivated by the sugars that's in there. It's almost got a bitterness to it because of the honey that we've added, the caramelized honey. It's not bad, it's a bit different. Not sure whether it tasted better before we started or not, but it is what it is now. Once it's fermented out, we'll see. Ideally, that's what we want. And yeah, thanks for watching. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't always go as planned. That's life. Accept it. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. See you soon.